Hello and welcome to the program. Now, despite President Muhammadu Buhari's assurance that security is on the front burner of his administration now, he's for the 10th time again rejected the clamor for state policing as a solution to the worsening security situation in the country. Speaking in an interview recently, President Buhari says state policing is not an option, adding that the effective way to tackle insecurity in the country is by making use of traditional leaders now who are closer to the communities and can identify the individuals causing problems in their localities. The president says Nigerians should question why governors who are in the forefront of the clamor for state police have not given powers to local governments. Speaking further, President Buhari says it does not see the need to alter the overstressed federal policing system, which many have criticized to be ineffective in the face of Nigeria's current realities. Instead, the president says traditional rulers have an integral role to play in securing communities in Nigeria. Now, despite governors generally being regarded as the chief security officers of their states, no security agency created by the Nigerian law is answerable to state governors. That's just the truth. And we saw that play out recently in the altercation between the governor of Lagos State and a chief superintendent of police at the Magodo estate in Lagos. Of course, everyone is aware of what is happening now in that estate. Now, to discuss this further, I'm being joined on the program by Mondo Ubani, who is a legal practitioner and the chairman of the Nigerian Bar Association section on public interest and development law. Thank you very much for joining us on the program. So, two interesting things happened recently. We saw that altercation between the governor of Lagos State and the chief superintendent of police, and of course that altercation generating a lot of controversy and bringing to the front burner the issue of state policing as well. And then we also saw the president in that exclusive interview with one of the television stations in Nigeria here, and of course you heard what the president said when he was asked the question about state policing, saying that it's not an option. Let me get your take now on the two situations now as they relate to state policing.
Yeah, thank you, Deji, for having me. I think you forgot even the test scenario, the one that played out in Imo, where it was alleged that the governor of the state was actually the one responsible for giving instruction to the policemen that are abducted, because obviously it was pure abduction that took place concerning Mr. Nwosu, who was worshipping in a particular church in Imo State. Yes, the issue of state policy, DG, state of insecurity in Nigeria has actually made it possible for people to look at very other viable options that will really help this country to be properly secured, because the primary responsibility of every government is the protections of life and property. And if any government fails in doing that, has failed absolutely and completely. And so the issue of insecurity and the idea of how we should be able to tackle it has been in the front burner. And one of the suggestions, that experts have actually provided is the issue of state policy. And it will be wrong for anyone that is clearly in need of policing Nigeria appropriately to dismiss it with a wave of hand and say it's not an option. That is not true. I think if the president is really serious about tackling insecurity, every option that has been made available should be looked at, holistically from every perspective in order to see whether there are advantages, and then probably work on those advantages with a legal framework that will take care of some of those fears, because there are alleged fears of abuse by the state governors. Now, let me start with what happened in Imo State. First and foremost, the allegation is that it was the governor of the state that actually instigated.
And some people will tell you what happened in Imo State is a clear case of the abuse that, some of them have argued about, the abuse that some of these governors could subject the whole idea of state policing to.
That is a very beautiful argument. So leaving a whole state policing in the hand of a state governor can lead to an abuse. And of course, most of these governors do not have regard and respect for the rights of citizens. And when they're in power, they think they will remain in power forever. So they want to abuse. And they don't understand the inherent inherent philosophy behind governance that it's actually when you restrain yourself, even when you have the power to do certain things that people will respect you. So that inherent abuse is there. Now, what happened also in Lagos State is the other way around, where the federal apparatus, their might was being used against the state governor, who allegedly supposed to be the chief security officer of the state. And you could see that the IG is one who is actually in control of the policing in the state. And so whatever he says is fine, and the governor has no say. But at the same time, maybe another time we were analyzing what actually transpired with Lagos State, the issue again is whether it is even right for a party to be the one to execute. When we know that most of these state governors will not allow any execution to be done against any judgment that is partly given against them and others. So it's another subject entirely. But the point is that what transpired there was a junior officer that was actually not showing so much regard to a state executive governor, the governor who is supposed to be the chief security officer. That is what played out. Now, with regards to what the president said, I am totally at variance with the president's position concerning his state policy. He cannot write it off completely. He will have to look at the issue of state policing as an option for us to solve the problem of insecurity. And alongside with other options, there are other viable options. People have been talking about economic situation, the issue of unemployment, the issue of education, the issue of basic infrastructures that actually make people to enter into crime when they have no hope and they want to do certain things in order to survive. So it's a holistic thing. It's not an issue that when we now come up with state policing, that will become all solution for all issues of state insecurity. I don't know. It is part of the option, and the president has the right to look at it. And we now formulate a legal framework that will take care of these inherent abuses that are clearly inherent. Because, as I said earlier, there are governors who don't understand the meaning of governance. So when they have this state apparatus, they want to use it in order to oppress some of their political opponents. So the legal framework will be done in such a manner to take care of those inherent abuses. So it is wrong for the president to write it off. Yes.
Okay, because the truth is that, look, when we talk about abuses, we've seen presidents in this country abuse the police, the use of the police too. So it's not as if it's only governors who carry out these abuses. We've seen in this country where a president used the police to remove governors from office. It's known to everybody. But let me ask you this. Everybody keeps talking about the president as if it's the president who can decide whether we should have state policing or not. Because that's the impression that is being created. Is that actually the case? Must it be the president? Is it not supposed to be the responsibility of the lawmakers in the National Assembly to make such a law? Because the impression that is being created now is that, look, if the president does not accept it, then that's it. We can't have it.
Yes, when you have a National Assembly where the leadership says that whatever the president says or whatever he does, is final, and they have no right to oppose it, then that is the kind of situation you will get when the president probably expresses an opinion.
But is it the case, and should it be so that
it shouldn't be.
That a National Assembly should not be able to oppose what the president says?
That is actually not the case. If you look at the constitution that creates the three arms of government, if you look at the philosophy behind that creation of three arms, this issue of there must be the issue of checks and balances. Checks and balances is the primary, inherent doctrinal, thing that is inherent in democracy, where the three arms checkmate each other. At the same time, they, help, to administer and give people good governance. But here, we have the current leadership, not the former leadership. The current leadership says whatever the president says is final, and they are here to do the biddings of the president. So that's why when the president expresses an opinion like this, you find out that the House that's supposed to be the lawmaking body, that's supposed to be the one to actually enact the law, they may not have the courage, just like with the electoral bill that they just passed and sent to the president.
But don't you think in this kind of situation, rather than look at the president and continue to concentrate on the president, the constituents of these lawmakers should bring pressure to bear on them to ensure they do not toe the line of the president, to ensure they do exactly what the constituents want? Because the way it is now, it's like every energy is being channeled at the president, whereas the lawmakers are just they're left alone.
Yeah, I think the lawmakers are the one that owes the responsibility to Nigeria in order to restructure Nigeria. It's not only the issue of state policy. There are many issues we want to actually be done in the country that will put Nigeria on a path to progress and development, and part of which is the issue of restructuring. Policing, state policing, which is what we mentioned, is one of them. So I think that any House member, either the Federal House or Senate, can come up with a bill that has to do with this issue of state policing. I think it's even pending. There is a particular bill on state policing that is pending. I don't know the stage of it now. I don't know what has happened to whether it is at first reading or second reading. But I know that there is a particular bill that has to do with state policing. Now, in the issue of even the constitutional amendment that is ongoing, it was suggested that there should be a creation of state policy. So I think there's something else. It's not the president. The president can only come in when it comes to issue of assent or declining assent. And if he declines assent, he can be vetoed. Can be vetoed. The president can be, they can override his veto. His veto can be overridden by the House. So I think that the House is very important. In every democracy, when you have a National Assembly that understands its responsibility, they can change the political situation, they can change the economic situation with a legal framework that can put the country on the path to progress. If you see what other nations that are making progress are doing in terms of the quality of membership of the House, you know that is an important arm that they cannot toy with. And that's why those people who are going there are people who understand this philosophy of governance. So we have all manner of people occupying that House, and that's why you see a whole president telling you that he cannot in any way disagree with the president. So which means he doesn't understand his basic responsibility, that he is there to check the excesses of the executive. So I think you are right. It is the responsibility of the lawmakers to actually enact a law to give the country state policy. It's not the president. The president does not have any final say. He can only come in the issue of assent or declining assent. And if he does decline assent, they can override him his veto by 2/3 majority of the members of the House. So you are very right. We can also come up with private members' bill on issue of state policing. So I think it's something that we have to consider, from now onwards. Since the president has a different body language and does not want to restructure Nigeria, I think that Nigerians must come up together in order to know that the country can only make progress if we restructure Nigeria. We cannot make progress in the light of this particular structure, that the country is structured. We cannot make progress. The over-centralization of the policing system have not taken us anywhere. Nigeria is clearly insecure. Nigeria is not making any progress in terms of security. Nigeria is not making progress in terms of our bureaucracy. So the over-centralization is clearly implicated.
Honestly, because it baffles me that lawmakers at every given opportunity would choose to side with the president. They're scared to break ranks with the presidency, and it actually shouldn't be so. And maybe the blame is partly ours because we continue to concentrate on the president and not look at our lawmakers. It appears even our lawmakers do not realize the kind of powers they have. But then let's just wait and see how all of this plays out. Thank you very much, Dr. Monday Ubani, for your time and for joining us on the program.
DEJI, thank you for having me. It has been a pleasure.
All right, we'll take a short break now, and we'll be right back.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the president of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On DEJI36O, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
DEJI36O, dissecting the issues.